Hello Ninjas, welcome to the second episode of Debugging Ninja. I created this channel with a purpose to help out people, either beginners, mid-level or experienced developers. When I first started and created my React project, I faced an error related to npm, and firstly I tried to solve it on my own but failed to debug real cause. It was not about any package dependency cause. The tutorial which I was following for the setup didn't mention it. I watched and searched for that specific error, but I didn't get a single hint, not with specific guide why this error appears. At that time, after 3 days, I find a hint of my answer, then tried it on my own, and at last issue solved. And at last, when I find its solution, it was related to npm folder which created on setup automatically, but mine was not creating on every attempt. When I created it manually with some rules, it started working. So basically, the purpose of my channel is to guide people and help out the developers that the errors which every developer faces in his or her journey. So I will provide a platform, I will contribute to this developer journey. Let's come to my another game walkthrough, which is basically inspired by the Grid Creators game. Basically it's an interactive learning game that teaches CSS grid concepts. Players are placed in a grid world where critters are positioned inside a grid. Each level focuses on one concept at a time. So, how the grid critters means basic code mechanics work. Grid critters is basically a grid visualizer rendered in the browser, a CSS code editor, input area, a live preview. Basically grid world updates instantly based on players CSS. So then level loads, world grid is created, rows, columns, background, and critters are placed in certain cells. Then player writes CSS. So this is the basic idea of the Grid Creators game, which I taken as inspiration to build my own version from scratch in Next.js. The purpose of the game is that the game is story driven, learning is embedded inside an adventure, lessons are sequential, teaching one concept per level. Each cell is a sphere where critters, obstacles, items live. Changing grid template columns or grid template rows changes the world's structure. So just like this, the characters like astronaut, like this in my version, animate into a place when CSS changes position. Here the user enter the grid property to move the target astronaut to the ship. So basically this is the inspiration which I implemented in my own way, game style. I added audio narration and sound effects, which I will show you in my code walkthrough. So many developers, including me, struggle when facing complex layouts. CSS grid feels like a puzzle with too many moving pieces. So instead of another dry tutorial, we decided to turn it into a game. A place where you play with layouts, build patterns step by step and actually remember grid rule. So yeah, let's go to the code walkthrough now, step by step. Alright, let's dive into the project structure. This is our page.js, our main entry point. This renders the game board, my data.json file where all my level definitions live. And here I am fetching the levels for now. Now let's move into the game layout. Basically board, this is where the fun happens, the game board. Here I render a div with a CSS grid layout where the player needs to write selectors that match the correct elements. The idea is simple: you move a spaceship to reach the astronaut by trying the correct CSS property like grid dash column by start to 2 or 3, depends on target. If it's wrong, the game tells you. If it's right, you get animation, sound effects, progression to the next level. That's the journey we are going to explore. Ready for level number? Name, instructions, the text shown to the player. Instructions, the text shown to the player before and after code snippets to display in the editor. The board type, C for astronaut and W for alien, and my second level definition depends on you. So the correct CSS input and the style applied to the astronaut or alien which we have to target. I am keeping track of the level state. Current index for the current level is correct. For whether the answer was right, left level includes the editor and instructions, and the right column includes the game board. I added a toggle solution button so beginners can peek at the right answer if stuck. And here right column uses 10 stack query to fetch levels. Here I added a providers.jsx file because forgetting to wrap our app in the query client provider. I am using gasp animations and howler for the sound effects. Opens with sound, then astronaut enters, door closes with sound, takeoff sequence, success sound. So when I first tested the animation in my game layout, I got this error in the console. This is GSAP. This is related to the GSAP animation, which is telling me that hey, you are trying to animate something but the element you passed me does not exist, it is null. Okay, so let's check here. Okay, sometimes React has not rendered the DOM element yet, or the element does not exist in the current level, because here we are rendering it in our game board, which is board ref. So let's check it is coming from our JSON level definition or not. So yeah, here this is for our alien and this is for our spaceship. Let's check. Okay, yes, we are adding no null check here. We are directly animating them without adding no null check. Gasp still tries to run. The solution is simple but very important. Always check that refs exist before animating them. Here we add in our use on top of our use effect, null check if here we are adding null check that if astronaut or our spaceship at any level is not present or not rendered yet in the DOM, then simply we added a guard here that prevent GASP from touching null elements. So always add null check. This acts as a guard here. So now let's check our issues resolved or not. So yeah, our issue got resolved. So always add null checks before. Thanks for watching.